Hello everyone, I'm your digital host, Tatyana White. Welcome back to another episode of the 48 Recap, the one-stop shop to catch up on some of the top news stories of the week, a sneak peek into stories coming up in our evening newscast today, weekend events you can go check out, and concluding the show with Saturday snapshots. I hope you all are having a wonderful weekend. Let's get right into this weekend's recap. Two of our top stories of this week were the two shootings in Florence. One person died and multiple people were injured, including a Florence police officer after a bank robbery on Tuesday. About 24 hours later, on Wednesday, officers were called to a deadly shooting at the Southern Oaks Village Apartments. The community in Florence felt a little unsettled and heartbroken after the violent incidents that left two people dead only 24 hours apart. 48's Aria Pond spoke with Florence Police Chief Mike Holt to reassure the Florence community that their safety is a top priority.
Yes, these two events happened to occur in close time proximity with one another. It doesn't suggest a pattern. It doesn't suggest an increase in violence.
Florence Police Chief Mike Holt says his officers are put through a lot of training, but every call they respond to is unique and anything can happen. One of those instances happened Tuesday with a bank robbery turned car chase turned officer-involved shooting.
Our officers are well trained, and what you saw this week, whether it's patrol officers or if it's investigators, you saw the result of that. You saw officers being thrust into a situation that they did not start, and they had to make very critical life-saving and life-changing decisions, not on the fly, mind you. They based it off their training and their experience.
That incident left the suspect dead, a bystander hurt, and a Florence police officer in the hospital with a gunshot wound.
He had a successful surgery, and like I said, it's successful, and he has been discharged, or is being discharged now, but he'll be home this evening if he's not already home, so we're very happy about that.
Then, about 24 hours later, officers were called to a deadly shooting at the Southern Oaks Village Apartments. Florence Police Chief Mike Holt says the victim and the suspect were actually working together to rob someone else when the shooting started. Chief Holt is asking the public for help getting all the facts in this case.
If they've heard anything, if they happen to have video footage of anything that they think might be helpful, we would absolutely like to review that, and our detectives would be very interested in that.
In response to the violence of the week, Holt wants to ease the community's concerns. He says all of his employees go through several layers of training.
When I say training, it's not a one-and-done situation. It's an ongoing effort, whether it be scenario-based training, tabletop exercises for supervisors possibly, those kind of things that from the time they walk into our door, they're getting trained.
Thank you, Aria. And a Huntsville man was charged this week with murder in connection to a deadly shooting on Turf Avenue. Huntsville police officers responded to a shooting at 9 p.m. on Monday. When officers arrived, they found 33-year-old Thaddeus Stewart in the front yard of a house suffering from a gunshot wound. Stewart was transported to Huntsville Hospital where he died from his injuries. 48's Callie Neese spoke with Stewart's family about the shooting and shares more on this story.
Thaddeus Stewart's sister, Lucretia Stewart, says that he was visiting friends here on Turf Avenue for his birthday. She says she doesn't know why this happened, but everything happens for a reason, and that he is in a better place now. Adding that Thaddeus is now with his son, who has passed away. He still has 3 living children he leaves behind with his wife, Tanae Young. Police say this man, Marvin Kendall, killed Stewart. They believe the two were in an argument leading up to the shooting. Kendall is currently in the Madison County Jail without bond. Stewart's family says they hope justice is served. Young remembers her husband as a loving, devoted father and husband. Lucretia Stewart says that Thaddeus was an animal lover, and he was great with his hands and could always make them smile.
That was, he was a goofball. He never met a stranger. He was never serious. He couldn't be serious. He would break out dancing, come in making random noises.
Lucretia says even though they didn't get a chance to see Thaddeus till he was already at the funeral home, she knew he was at peace.
He definitely looked at peace because we weren't able to see him at the hospital, but the funeral home did let us see him before, they started working on doing everything, and then he looked very peaceful. He looked
just like that.
So we could tell he was at peace.
Stewart's daughter says that she loved her father very, very much. The family has a funeral planned for Sunday, April the 6th. This case is still under investigation, but 48 News will keep you updated as new information becomes available. Reporting in Huntsville, Callie Neese, 48 News, on your side.
Thank you, Callie. And a new Alabama law is outlawing Glock switches, which is a device that can turn a semi-automatic pistol into a fully automatic one. Madison County District Attorney Tim Gann says last year the Department of Justice only charged 3 people for having Glock switches in Madison County. But with the new law, he thinks those numbers could skyrocket. 48's Nick Ballinger has more on this story.
1,200 rounds per minute, all from a small device placed on the end of a pistol. The lieutenant of the North Alabama Drug Task Force sums up a Glock switch best.
It converts a semi-automatic pistol into a machine gun.
Alabama became the 24th state to make Glock switches illegal. But before then, Madison County District Attorney Tim Gann says charging offenders wasn't just difficult, it was impossible.
Our hands were tied. We could not prosecute anything having to do with Glock switches. We were seeing them being pulled off the street. We were seeing the arrest, but there was nothing that we could do about it.
Glock switches were against federal laws, but not state law. So if you were arrested with one in Alabama, you'd only be charged if federal prosecutors got involved. That didn't always happen. Since February of 2024, 38 people in Alabama were charged for having a switch, none in Limestone or Morgan County, and just 3 in Madison County. Gann says if this law would have been in place during that time, the number would be higher.
They could not prosecute juveniles. So we were seeing a whole lot of juveniles with these fully automatic weapons, and there was nothing we could do about it. We're going to prosecute those full bore. We have seen firsthand how dangerous they are and the effect they've had on our community.
Prosecutors say a gun with a Glock switch killed HPD officer Billy Clardy a few years ago. Lieutenant Joe Kennington says remembering Clardy is what makes this law personal.
It is a personal element. I mean, anytime that we have something that not only brings, significant dangers to society and the people that we serve, but it brings danger to us, we do take it personally, and we are relentless when it comes to getting things like that off the streets.
Thank you, Nick. And out of Decatur, a Morgan County judge heard from 2 witnesses and watched police body cam video this week as he considers immunity for former Decatur police officer Mac Marquette over the 2023 shooting death of Steve Perkins during the repossession of his truck. 48's Faith Delp was in the courtroom and shares more on this story.
I was in court this morning as the prosecutors, defense, and the judge argued whether or not it was lawful for police to be at Steve Perkins' house the night he was killed. Prosecutors argued now former officer Mac Marquette, who shot and killed Perkins, should not be granted immunity because he was helping a tow truck driver during an unlawful repossession. Defense argued the officers were there standing by for the safety of the tow truck driver, who they say had the right to repossess Perkins' truck. The driver called the police after the first repossession that night when Perkins pulled a gun on him. When he returned later with police officers, Perkins came out again and was shot by police. Prosecutors say Marquette and the other officers should not have been there and that they could have done more to de-escalate the situation. One of Perkins' former co-workers sat in on the hearing Wednesday. He says police should have announced their presence sooner.
I still feel the same way I've always felt. It was an ambush. If you would have just knocked or just had your sirens on, his life would still be here.
The defense argues against police announcing their presence because they were just there for the driver and didn't expect the situation to escalate. Steve Perkins' brother, Nick Perkins, says his family will get justice.
My family does look forward to a potential trial. We do want some closure, but we do have confidence in Judge Elliott and the city of Decatur that we'll come out victorious. We will get justice, and hopefully we'll be the family that changes this city.
After a day and a half of Marquette's immunity hearing, Judge Elliott released everyone today at 11 to review Decatur police policy, Alabama law, and evidence in the case. Reporting in Decatur, Faith Delp, 48 News, on your side.
Thank you, Faith. The immunity hearing will determine if the murder trial against Marquette will proceed in April. So far, the judge hasn't made a decision in the immunity hearing. We'll keep you updated right here at WAFF 48 with updates on this case. And an executive order signed by President Trump is aiming to overhaul U.S. elections so that next time you attempt to register to vote, you would need proof of citizenship. The president threatens to pull federal funding from states that don't comply. 48's Nick Ballinger dug into this executive order and shares more on this story.
Next time you register to vote, the process could look different.
It's not like the old days now where you'll be able to just register using your driver's license.
This executive order signed by President Donald Trump is throwing out the old requirements of just needing a driver's license. Instead, people will now need either a passport, a star ID, a military identification card, or a federal photo ID to be eligible to vote. Immigration attorney Kimberly Fasking thinks this isn't going to affect the groups intended.
I think personally it's going to make it more difficult for U.S. citizens to vote. I think immigrants are more likely to have the paperwork handy necessary to register to vote once they've naturalized.
The U.S. State Department says in 2024, about half of Americans had a passport. Voting activist organizations say this could also affect married women whose legal name doesn't match the name on their birth certificate. Alabama Secretary of State Wes Allen is praising this order, saying, quote, "This EO is a major step in the right direction." Allen removed 3,200 non-citizens from voter rolls back in August, which WAFF later found included citizen and Alabama resident James Stroop.
Which is just totally bogus because I was born in Florida. It did locate some people that obviously were not allowed to vote. However, it also found that there were a lot of mistakes. Fortunately, when you do that, you affect people's lives.
Stroop became a plaintiff in a lawsuit targeting Allen, claiming he violated the Voter Registration Act. The Secretary of State celebrated the lawsuit being dropped, claiming it as a win. But in reality, a federal judge halted the voter purge in August and had Allen's mistakes overturned.
And everything was reinstated at this point in time. They felt it was just fine to go ahead and drop the case because they have achieved what they would have going to court.
And out of the nearly 1,200 inmates inside the Madison County Jail, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has identified 45 of them as being undocumented immigrants. 48's Nick Ballinger shares more from outside the Madison County Jail.
Out of the nearly 1,200 inmates at the Madison County Jail, ICE has identified 45 of them are here illegally. That's nearly 4% of the jail's population. They're being held here on what's called an ICE hold.
If you come here to our community and you commit crimes and you're not documented and you're not supposed to be here, you're going to be charged and you're going to be dealt with by the letter of the law.
Madison County District Attorney Tim Gann says when an undocumented person commits a crime, local law enforcement notifies ICE. They're then held in the jail until they either make bond or stand trial.
Now, if one of those 45 were to make bond, ICE is not going to allow them to walk in our community free waiting trial. They're going to deport them immediately.
If they make bond, ICE can deport them, but if they do get sentenced and go to prison,
and the second they get finished, ICE is going to take them and send them back.
We're not doing this and going, I bet they're not supposed to be here. They're committing serious, heinous crimes.
Take these four as an example. Michael Gedeon, charged with murder. Salvador Rodriguez, charged with drug trafficking. Lester Cruz, murder and assault. Or Gilmar Huinack, with a laundry list of charges from human trafficking to traveling to meet a child for sex. Patterson says in the past, ICE didn't always pick them up in the 48 hours they're held after release.
Under the Biden administration, it was 1 or 2 out of 10. Under this current administration right now, they're taking everything we got.
So these four, along with 41 others, wait patiently in the Madison County Jail until they can be tried for their crimes and more than likely deported.
Thank you, Nick. And coming up after the break, the latest on a journalist accidentally being added to a government group chat where sensitive information was shared, fun events to look out for in the Huntsville area this weekend, all that and more when we come back. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 48 Recap. In national news, calls for an investigation into why top U.S. officials were using a commercial messaging app to discuss secret military plans are ramping up. NBC's Melanie Zanoa has details from Washington.
Calls for accountability growing in the fallout from that Signal group chat, where the country's top defense and intelligence officials, along with the vice president, discuss plans for an attack in Yemen, with a journalist included.
The press upplays it. I think it's all a witch hunt.
President Trump trying to turn the page, announcing new tariffs on imported cars and parts.
So we'll effectively be charging a 25% tariff.
And ramping up immigration arrests, security cameras showing masked, plainclothes armed law enforcement grabbing Tufts graduate student Rumaisa Ozturk off a Boston street. Officials say Ozturk supported Hamas, but won't say how. Arresting an alleged MS-13 gang leader in the Washington, D.C. suburbs. The Justice Department streaming the details. Attorney General Pam Bondi announcing the arrest, but not able to avoid the Signal chat controversy, and how journalist Jeffrey Goldberg was included.
Well, first, it was sensitive information, not classified, and inadvertently released.
The White House trying to move on.
Well, we have never denied that this was a mistake, and the National Security Advisor took responsibility for that, and we have said we are making changes.
But what kind of changes is unknown. Republican Roger Wicker and Democrat Jack Reed, heads of the Senate Armed Services Committee, calling on the Defense Department acting Inspector General to look into the scandal.
I definitely support an IG investigation.
Democrats calling for more action.
I think there's no question that the Secretary of Defense must resign. He should be fired, and very likely the National Security Advisor as well.
President Donald Trump fired the Pentagon's Inspector General last month and hasn't named a replacement. The IG is responsible for investigating waste, fraud, and abuse and is expected to act independently. Melanie Zanona, NBC News, Washington.
March is Colon Cancer Awareness Month, which is a time dedicated to educating people about the importance of early detection and screening. I had the pleasure of sitting down with the colon cancer doctor this week, Dr. Vic DiCarlo from Alabama Colon and Gastro, and he shared the importance of staying up to date with your health. Let's take a listen.
Having a month dedicated to colon cancer awareness is that it reminds people to, hey, talk to your parents or your siblings and say, have you had your colonoscopy? Did you ever have bad polyps? Or do you have a history of colon cancer that you survived from? Because if you have that, then you should at least be getting a colonoscopy at the age of 40. If that family member had a colonoscopy or had a colon cancer sooner than that, then you might need to get a colonoscopy sooner. It's just really important to know your family history, particularly when it comes to colon cancer. The big thing with colon cancer, and I have this conversation all the time, is that the reason why we have a screening regimen is because colon cancer is silent. And by the time it is symptomatic or it's causing problems for you, it may be too late. Sometimes we get lucky and I can remove it while I'm doing the colonoscopy. Sometimes we need surgery, or sometimes we need chemotherapy, radiation, all these other things. But it's really important, especially if you're not of the age, so say 45 for your colonoscopy, to pay attention to symptoms like change in bowel habits, blood in your stool, you're more constipated, or your belly's hurting a lot more, or you're having weight loss and you don't know why you're losing weight. So these are all things that you certainly need to talk to your primary care provider or come to a gastroenterologist's office and have a further discussion about. A lot of it goes hand in hand with living a good, healthy lifestyle. Unfortunately, there's a lot of genetics associated with this, but it's the same thing. Patients ask me about a good diet and are there any supplements they can take, and the main thing is we're trying to live a good, healthy lifestyle. And so that's your consistent, high fiber diet, diet that's low in red meats. Your meats and proteins maybe need to be fish and chicken that's not fried, and have a good healthy caloric intake, maintain a good healthy weight. So it's a lot of things that your cardiologist or your lung doctor, your primary care is going to be telling you too. And I find myself being another provider, just being another patient advocate and say, hey, we can do this together.
Yes, Dr. DiCarlo was such a great person to talk to, and he shared a lot of wonderful insights on colon cancer. So if you would like to hear more and stay aware of the signs of colon cancer and learn more about it, the full 48 Now interview is available to watch on our website at WAFF48.com under the Digital Shows tab. And if you are in the Huntsville area and would like to get checked out or learn more about your health and colon cancer, you can visit Dr. DiCarlo and the other wonderful doctors at Alabama Colon and Gastro. And I also had the pleasure of speaking with the founder and CEO of the HBCU STEM Education Run, Danielle Lewis, and she shared more about the 5th annual HBCU STEM Education Run. And this is a run that strives to raise funds and awareness through fitness. Each year, funds are dedicated to an HBCU. The 5K run supports their mission to educate, empower, and elevate HBCU STEM students through scholarships and career resources. Let's take a listen to what Danielle had to say.
If you're in Huntsville, Alabama, we're going to be out there April 6th at 8:30 in the morning, bright and early, and we're going to be out there at Big Spring Park. We're going to, everyone is going to have a nice tech t-shirt, a finisher medal. There's going to be different STEM activities on site, sponsored by some of our amazing sponsors like STEM Media, the Black Math Academy, all these wonderful organizations that are helping us put this event together. So something for all ages, you know, whether you're young or older, it doesn't matter. And you can do 1 mile or a 5K, and you can walk or run. So like I said, there's really something for everyone there. So if you're in Huntsville, definitely check us out and register. And the link to register, if you're tuning in, you can get $5 off with tinyurl.com/WAFF save 5. So that's the promo code if you're in Huntsville and you want to join us. And then the virtual aspect, it's the same thing. You can do 1 mile or 5K. There's even a half marathon option for my runners out there. And you know, you get the same thing. You get the shirt, you get the medal, and all of those things from all of the swag bag items from our sponsors. But the only difference is you can run it anywhere, anytime within the month of April. So you have the full month to complete it. We ask for people to send in their, you know, victory pictures so we can keep up with you as you're participating throughout April. But you know, it's an opportunity to be included no matter where you are. So like I said, we have people in internationally, Japan, you know, here and there. So definitely check it out. And it's something for everyone.
Yes, speaking with Danielle was such an honor, and I just love her determination and drive to support HBCU STEM students through her organization. The deadline to register for the run is April 3rd. If you don't want to participate in the run, but you would like to donate to the cause and scholarship fund, you can visit hbcustemmer.link/register. And to hear more about Danielle's mission and how to be involved with the HBCU STEM Education Run, the full 48 Now interview is available to watch on our website at WAFF48.com under the Digital Shows tab. And if you are in the Huntsville area this weekend, there are many events happening in the area that you should go check out, and I wanted to just highlight a few of those events. The 5th Annual Women's Expo is happening right now at the BBC, and it doesn't end until 5 p.m. today, so go out and support the many vendors that will be out there. It is a free, family-friendly event, and there is something for everyone to do. Tomorrow, as part of the Women's Expo, there will be a farewell brunch at 11 a.m. at the Embassy Suites on Monroe Street Southwest. Tickets for tomorrow's brunch can be purchased at the Women's Expo, hsv.com. I got to sit down and speak with the founder of the Women's Expo, Tiffany Draper, the other week, and she was so amazing and shared so many great things that's going to be out there at the Expo and for you all to expect. So go check it out if you can. And Huntsville Havoc versus Evansville Thunderbolts play tonight at the VBC Arena at 7 p.m. Tonight's theme is Military Night, so there will be free ticket vouchers available to all current and former military personnel while supplies last. Tickets can be bought at the VBC box office, the Huntsville Havoc office, and online at Ticketmaster.com. And happening right now is the Taste of Soul Family Festival at the Orion Amphitheater. This is an event that is featuring a lot of amazing food trucks from all over Huntsville, several vendors and local businesses, games, live music, and DJ entertainment. This event is celebrating the heart and soul of Huntsville. I had the pleasure of sitting down with event organizer James Swan and host Travis T. Large to talk more about this event. Let's take a listen.
First off, a really good family time. Let me stress that. Bring your whole family out. We've got something for everybody. Good, as far as the music goes, a ton of music all day, clean music, good R&B, some gospel artists, some dance teams and things of that nature. Will be just a really fun, ton of laughs for me. We're gonna be silly, some family-friendly games. I might walk over to you and say this or that, or joke with you about this, or play a game about that. Something for my kids, something for the adults as well. And then also, on the other side, the vendors, across the board vendors. I mean, we're talking about everything. You'll be able to leave there with candles, scented oils, T-shirts, socks, just all type of things, bracelets, just a little bit of everything that we've got for the community. And then you're going to eat good as well. I mean, we've got a ton of restaurants, ton of vendors for you to come and, sweet treats like a snow cone or a cupcake, all the way up to, full-blown meals, great barbecue, things like that.
Well, I think, one of the words that we use is taste. So taste is not just referring to food. It's referring to, we just want to share a little taste of Huntsville with the people that are coming in and those who have not yet met these companies and these small businesses here in our community. So all our objective is to showcase our talents, our culinary skills, our entrepreneurship skills, our musical, just give people a little taste of it so then they can go and do it. We're fine with the talents that they have, but showcasing them so that other people can see them is what we want to be about.
Just being the vessel. Being the Taste of Soul is the vessel.
Yes, I love it. Yes, speaking with them and hearing about Taste of Soul was so much fun. So go out and show some love and support to local Huntsville businesses and enjoy good vibes, music, food, and much more. The Taste of Soul Fest will be going on at the Orion Amphitheater until 8 p.m. tonight. If you haven't already purchased your tickets, you can purchase them there at the box office. Children 12 years old and younger are free admission. That's all I have today for the 48 recap. Let's check out some of the Saturday snapshots people submitted today. So we have these photos submitted by Lisa, and she said, quote, "The Lord has given us some beautiful days." And I absolutely agree. These photos are so beautiful. I love the nature and the spring that's coming out. So thank you so much for sharing this. And thank you for submitting these photos for Saturday Snapshots. That is all I have today for the 48 recap. Thank you all for tuning in. And please be safe during Sunday night and Monday morning's possible severe weather threat. Meteorologist Chelsea Aaron will be going live on all of our streaming platforms this afternoon at 4:30 p.m. for the 48 First Alert Weather Extra to give you all an update on the storms. And she will also give some updates in our evening newscast tonight and tomorrow. So stay tuned and up to date. Our meteorologists go live every Monday through Friday at 10:30 a.m. and 9:30 p.m. and every Saturday and Sunday at 8:15 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. for the 48 First Alert Weather Extra segment. And this segment is just a way to give you all an extra insight on the latest weather forecast. So make sure to download our 48 apps and follow us on our Facebook and YouTube channels so you don't miss any updates. Take care, everyone, and I will see you all back here next Saturday. I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend.